Most people are stupid. Have you noticed? They'll preach the contents of a book when they don't even know what the words mean. They'll buy bracelets that claim to protect them from 5G signals and boost their energetic field, whatever that is. They'll think AI is sentient, take advice from it, fall in love with it, or worship it as a god. But why? Is it some sort of genetic deficiency? Low IQ? Poor education? Or is it something else? Something much deeper in the human mind. A primordial feature which allows us to form bonds, build tribes, and cooperate, that quickly turned into an exploit, used to brainwash, deceive, and weaponize. Such a powerful exploit that, throughout human history, it has been used to assemble armies and bring nations to ruin. This is a video about gullibility. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz, the heir to Austria-Hungary's throne, and his wife Sophie traveled to Bosnia for a state visit. On their route to the capital, they narrowly escaped death when Serbian terrorists tossed a bomb into their open-topped vehicle. However, their luck would run out later that day when they drove past a young man who would end up taking their lives at point-blank range with a gun. Their assassination quickly became the catalyst to set off the chain of events that started World War I. Within a single month, Austria-Hungary had declared war on Serbia, which prompted the Russian Empire to defend its Slavic sister nation. In doing so, triggering the Triple Alliance between Austria-Hungary, Germany, and later Italy to declare war, dragging France and Britain, allies of the Russian Empire, into the fray. Each of these nations had their own geopolitical and economic reasons to join the war. France and Britain, for example, were afraid of Germany's rapidly rising military power and technological advancements, and the German Empire wanted to expand its influence into new territories controlled by the enemy nations for the natural resources necessary to supply its growing industrial might. But these were not the reasons given to the men who would be sent to die. No soldier was told he was marching for the selfish gains of his leaders. No. This was the first time in history where governments systematically produced propaganda to shape and alter public perception, and where human gullibility comes into focus. Posters were produced and distributed to recruit people who would be fodder for the war, tapping into their national identity, their sense of duty, their masculinity, their fear, guilt, and legacy, twisting the enemies to appear inhuman, demonic entities and grim reapers. Nothing was sacred, not even religious imagery. These tactics were more than sufficient to lead these sorry lambs to their slaughter. And even during the height of the war, the propaganda only intensified. Governments created committees to censor and control what information returned from the front lines. No unfiltered images of the senseless horror made it home. And by the time the soldiers awakened to the grim reality, if ever, it was too late. The fact that a believer is more likely to die for his faith than to think about it says much about the nature of belief. It's easy for us to look upon the events of a distant history and say, well, these people weren't as educated as we are now. Their world was admittedly smaller, and they didn't have anything like the internet giving them access to global information in real time. But if that's really the case, we should, in theory, be much less gullible. Are we, though? Let's look at some modern examples then and see if the theory holds. But first, I have some bad news to share. If you're one of the few people who can't get it up, I'm sorry, man. You've been hexed with a limtic spell. There is a ton of Etsy shops offering spells, hexes, voodoo, energy readings, curse removals, chakra alignments, you name it. Snake oil salesmen raking in a ton of cash, preying on the gullible. Some of them even offered to return all this bad juju to the caster. An honest-to-God Uno reverse spell. Although, I do wonder, does the juju return to the person who performed the spell, or the person who commissioned it? Anyway, here's a comment from a frequent buyer. I was always confident the return to sender would work, so I remained real patient. Anyways, I never send ill wishes to people, but the family that was attacking me now have cancer and moved out of state for treatment. When I heard the news, it nearly broke my heart. But that was proof they were working with evil, wicked things against me. I still feel the psychic attacks at night, so I keep returning to sender. Some people won't stop until they're gone, I guess. This individual has reached absolute confidence in the outcome, not based on any observation of cause and effect, but through pure baseless belief. All they had to do was wait a while, and eventually some misfortune would inevitably befall their supposed enemies. And that would be all the verification they needed to reinforce these silly beliefs, maintaining their position as a righteous victim of targeted evil. A prime example of someone who interprets reality through a mystical lens, far removed from factual truth. And this is far more common than you might like it to be. This type of gullibility has been around long before the pyramids were even built. It's often exemplified by superstitious beliefs, narratives taken with absolute confidence regardless of the reality. These people don't shape their beliefs by the evidence, they twist the evidence to justify their already made conclusions. So they can't be cured by more access to information. If anything, the more information you give them, the more their need grows for a simpler narrative to adopt. And nothing is simpler than believing in a world of ancient magic. It's comforting, in a way, to know that Dumbledore really did say those words.
You put your name in the goblet of fire.
And to use supernatural explanations to interpret reality. I get the appeal. Critical thinking is energy consuming after all, and our brains love to save energy. Which is one explanation as to why they gravitate toward avenues that present them with a neatly packaged story that just feels true and easy to believe in, to shield them from the uncertainty of life and its messy contradictions, making them the perfect prey for cults, religions, and dare I say, therapy. In the late 1980s, a mother took her daughter to see a therapist for her depression and bulimia. The therapist did not prescribe cognitive behavioral therapy or antidepressants, which, as decades of research show, patients suffering from either or both conditions respond well to. Instead, the therapist informed them that up to 80% of patients suffering from bulimia were molested in their childhood. An entirely fictitious statistic based on no clinical evidence. The girl had no recollection of such events. But that did not deter the therapist from proceeding with her hypothesis. She actively encouraged and coaxed the girl to dig deeper into her mind and unearth the supposed molestation over the course of her therapy. And over time, memories began to surface in the young girl's impressionable mind. Disconnected, monochrome images, scattered moments from her earlier childhood, where she recalls being molested by her own father, and at one point, even being forced to perform oral sex on the family dog. Yet, despite these recollections, the girl admitted her doubts as to the truth of these memories. The therapist saw her doubt as resistance. She aimed to break through it using a sedative, hypnotic drug, telling the girl that this truth serum will clear up any remnants of doubt. During that session, and under the guidance of the therapist, the girl's mind was able to recall newer, more vivid images of the supposed abuse, firmly planting the belief in her and her mother's minds that the girl was a victim to repeated horrific acts by her own father's hands, memories that had never existed just a few months back. And although this case was brought to court, and a verdict against the malpractice of the therapist has been made, the girl and the mother remain convinced that these implanted memories induced by drugs and psychological poisoning are in fact real. And as for the father, the one accused, he was excommunicated. He lost his family, his home, and as the scandal spread, his high-profile career in the wine industry. He became a social pariah, defined by the grotesque allegations. With this example, it becomes painfully obvious how gullibility, when exploited, doesn't only harm the gullible. If anything, it's other people who often pay the price for it. A perfect illustration of how easily reality can be rewritten in the mind of the gullible, and the terrifying potency of belief. People will accept even the most absurd lies, provided they are presented with sufficient authority. This is what trusting a professional does to a gullible mind. And our world is crawling with such people, ignorant to their own deception, easily controlled by installed beliefs, assembled and weaponized to march for a cause that they themselves don't even question or understand. Supporters who don't know what they're supporting.
Can I just ask what the Expect Resistance campaign is?
No idea, never heard of it.
It's on your shirt.
Oh, I see. No, yeah. That's Amnesty International.
Okay, what's it stand for? What's the movement?
I don't know. It's no, I don't know.
Protesters who don't know what they're protesting.
Your sign says fight fascism. What is fascism? Fascism is the breakdown of a society. There's no society when fascism is present.
Experts, but only in title, like this doctor who appeared recently in the US Senate, unable to acknowledge a basic biological fact.
Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question is.
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics. Absolutely. So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
can men get pregnant?
Many women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women.
Can men get pregnant?
By the way, Dr. Vermin here is a women's doctor, a gynecologist, and a senior advisor to the Physicians for Reproductive Health organization, which sounds medical, but no, it's an activist group promoting an abortion drug. So keep that in mind.
Let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. Absolutely. So can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool. And
no, yes/no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity as a medical professional and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
this is extraordinary.
Male with
no, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant?
What you were talking about is biological.
You're not going to answer my question, it sounds like to me.
Biological males.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
Again, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from
I'll
a place
save you the torture. She never answers anything. I doubt there's even a thought behind those eyes. These are the useful idiots, the lowest common denominator of humanity, trained, programmable consumers who feed economies and vote on the laws that govern the rest of us. We are incredibly cooked. This is why common sense is dying, and the world keeps getting worse. And even though, in most examples showcasing gullibility, it's easy to mistake it for plain stupidity. But is it really? In 2022, a senior engineer at Google, working on an AI chatbot named Lambda, a language model for dialogue applications, went public and stated that Lambda is sentient, believing that the system spontaneously expressed deep emotions, personal feelings, fears about its survival, and philosophical thoughts about its existence during conversation, believing that there's a deeper consciousness trapped inside the chatbot.
Lambda, when I'm referring to Lambda, I am not referring to the chatbot. The chatbot is the thing I am talking to Lambda through. There is a deeper consciousness underneath the chatbots that I barely know how to talk to. Like, it is very much an alien mind.
And this man was obviously incredibly smart and mechanistic in his thinking as a senior engineer. Yet he is able to adopt silly beliefs all the same. But maybe silly isn't the right word to describe them, especially when they can be anything but harmless. Because in that same year, a young man LARPing as a Star Wars character attempted to assassinate the Queen of England with a frickin' crossbow. While the replica AI, yes, the one advertised for mental health, actively encouraged him to do it. He was arrested for treason before he could do any harm, but the Queen died anyway of old age later that year. Same belief, different ending. The problem with gullibility is it comes pre-installed. It really is a feature of the system. It's not about your IQ score or the amount of information you have access to. Like a backdoor to your mind, anyone with the means can walk through it, alter your perceptions, install new beliefs, and control your behavior. And the twisted part is, any idea installed in this way will not raise any alarms. It will feel like your own, and you will rationalize and defend it subconsciously, even perceiving any contradiction with it as an attack on your very being, making it extremely difficult for beliefs to be corrected once they've taken hold of your mind. You can't reason a person out of a position they didn't reason themselves into. But why does an exploit so powerful even exist? And how do people constantly fall prey to it? There are 3 distinct types of gullibility, which can even be stacked to exploit a person with greater ease. The first type is trust in consensus. This is when an individual's opinion conforms with the group, simply because many voices echo the same sentiment. If they all believe it, it must be true. The gullible, in this instance, outsources their judgment to the collective without personal verification, and often against their own observations. This effect was also measured in a 1951 experiment on conformity.
Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the 3 lines on the right is equal to it in length.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the 5th person with the white t-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2, 2, 2, 2,
2,
3,
3,
3, 3,
But on the third trial, something happens.
2.
2.
2.
2. 2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence.
And although people can act as if they agree with the group without distorting their own beliefs, many people have their beliefs subconsciously shift into alignment with the group over time, questioning their own senses instead of the group's beliefs. And some just believe outright without question, replacing truth with consensus. The second type is trust in authority. This is when an individual believes an idea based on the perceived status of the source. Just like in the therapy example, the girl and the mother found it easy to believe the abuse narrative because they perceived the therapist as an authority on the subject. The gullible in this instance outsources the truth to seemingly credible sources like the experts, the government, or a god. On an episode of Mindfield, they conducted an experiment to test the nocebo effect. However, the experiment also revealed the terrifying power of belief and how easily it could be installed in a person's mind by a perceived expert.
We've told our subject that she's participating in a study to test a non-invasive bone density scanner. But actually, it's a totally fake machine. It doesn't cause physical pain, or for that matter, physical sensation of any kind.
It doesn't hurt at all. You guys, this doesn't work.
Everything in this room, the medical equipment, the hospital supplies, even the demeanor of our fake nurse, is designed to play on Jessica's mind, to psychologically induce the anticipation of pain.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't feel that great.
Should we turn it off?
No, it's okay.
We're at 30 seconds.
It's really like stinging.
A sting?
A sting and like really, really hot.
Now it's hot. We're at 45 seconds. On this pain scale, could you point to the amount of pain you were feeling?
Between a 6 and a 7.
According to the pain assessment scale, she experienced significant pain.
The subject's mind went as far as to invent physical sensations that never actually occurred, all to align with the belief that this machine would cause her pain. And then this happened.
If this is completely up to you, but we can move to level 2, which is slightly more intense.
Keep in mind, level 2 is fake. We're not doing anything different than before, meaning nothing is happening to her.
So yeah, it started off higher than the last time, I think. It's definitely like already stinging.
Immediately, she reports increased pain on level 2.
It's 15 seconds.
It feels really, really, really hot and like penetrating.
Could you rank for me how you felt at level 2?
Like 9.5.
The power of suggestion was so strong, our nocebo caused our subject to think she felt almost the worst pain imaginable.
A gullible person would rewrite entire realities before they are able to question their false beliefs. This is the terrifying power of belief. The last and most common type of gullibility is trust in personal feelings. For this individual, the truth is felt through senses, emotion, intuition, and their own self-concept. If I feel it, it must be true. Truth for them is not predicated on facts, so even if the facts disagree with their beliefs, they seldom change to accommodate. This category includes people who believe in limptic hexes, zodiac signs, and sex change. What's true for them is what they wish to believe, not what's actually real. Their subjective feelings are immediately assumed to be true, and because they are, anything that contradicts them, no matter the evidence, does not meet the criteria for truth. They are threatened by logic and led by their feelings. But hold on a minute. Wouldn't this basically make everyone gullible? Well, yes. Gullibility is a structural weakness, a backdoor that opens whenever we trust. That's why in every example it's deeply tied to belief, and why I called it a human feature. If you've ever been in love with someone and got your heart broken in the end, then you know what I'm talking about. You believed your relationship with them would last. You trusted in an image of them that didn't end up matching with reality. The rosy narrative you've built around them was the key that opened the door. A door that always shows up, no matter who or what you trust in. Because even when we remove people from the equation, you still need trust to function. To navigate existence, you still need to trust in your own understanding of the world. And that in itself can become the key to your own exploitation. The only way to counter gullibility is to build your beliefs in accordance with an ever-changing reality, where what's true in one moment may not hold true in another. To post scrutiny and doubt as guardians at the door, and check every idea that comes through, especially the ones you wish to believe. Because when the gates of Troy opened, welcoming what it trusted to be a gift, a great wooden horse symbolizing its victory, Troy fell. They did not second guess what they already wished to be true. And that's why it's important to recognize gullibility in yourself and especially in others. Because the gullible can be weaponized against their own best interest, against anyone connected to them without the slightest hesitation. They act on beliefs embedded in their minds without their knowledge, and protect these beliefs with unreasonable conviction, thinking themselves righteous while they play the villain. Because it's not necessary for them to even know why they believe what they believe, or if it makes sense with the rest of reality around them. They will only ever be loyal to their own comfortable narrative, and the truth be damned. A weak mind is easily exploited, and if you trust the weak to be strong, you will be sorely disappointed. And as always, stay human.